The house of Israel say, His mercy. Can we sing that? Let the house of Israel say, His mercy endures forever. Let the house of Aaron say, His mercy endures forever. Let all those who fear the Lord say, His. That is divine mercy. That is God's love and mercy that endures forever. And you can put the name of your house and say, let the house of Ben say, His mercy endures forever. Or anybody, That is. His mercy endures forever in each of our hearts, in each of our homes, in each of our lives. Only if we open our hearts to Him. That's the story of our salvation. The house of Israel, the house of Aaron, the house of Moses, the house of David, the house of those who fear the Lord, and we, and all of us, are those. The sin of our first parents, Adam and Eve, has distorted the way we see God. But God has not given up on us. In fact, He has tirelessly worked to heal our distorted images of Him through the school of trust, trusting in divine mercy. Think about the prophets of old, starting with the Old Testament. Think about Jesus. Think about the apostles. Think about the early Christian community. Think about us today. Think about St. John Paul II, who gave us this gift of God's divine mercy. So God has constantly, tirelessly, unceasingly been working to offer us His divine mercy. St. John the Apostle, all of you are so fortunate here. A couple years ago, we did this second greatest story ever told. Which is the first greatest story? The Bible, right? The second greatest story of His divine mercy. Of His divine mercy. And so, go back and study that. It's available for you on Formed. Try to know God's divine mercy from ancient of days until today and for times to come. For your children, your children's children, and for generations to come. God's mercy endures not only until 2018. We say His mercy endures forever. Forever. His mercy endures. And we see it in the covenanted relationship that God had with His people and continues with us. I will be a God, you will be my people. I will remain faithful to you, you remain faithful to me. But when we are unfaithful, what does God do? He still continues to remain faithful to us. Man tempted by the devil, says the Catechism of the Catholic Church, number 397, man tempted by the devil, let his trust in his Creator die in his heart. Die in his heart, and abusing his freedom, disobeyed God's commands. This is what man's first sin consists of. And subsequent sin would be disobedience toward God and lack of trust in His goodness. Lack of trust in His goodness. What's written down? The image of the divine mercy. Jesus, I trust in Thee. Jesus told St. Faustina Kowalska, when he appeared to her as a young nun, that the greatest sin of humanity is the sin of the lack of trust. Humanity's doubt in His love and His mercy for them. And some other instances where Jesus spoke to St. Faustina, I'll quote you quickly here. He said, souls perish in spite of my bitter passion. I'm giving them the last hope of salvation. That is the feast of my mercy. If they will not adore my divine mercy, they will perish for all eternity. Tell souls about this great mercy of mine, because the awful day, the day of my justice, is near. It's from the diary of St. Faustina Kowalska, number 965. But the most disturbing thing about sin is that unless the sinner seeks God's forgiveness, which is always available and unconditional, it can lead to eternal separation from God and from hell. From God to hell, sir. St. Faustina was given a vision of hell in which she saw the torturous sufferings of the condemned. And you've heard some stories about hell these days, so let's get it straight. She wrote afterwards that God has given her this vision so that no soul may find an excuse by saying there is no hell, or that nobody has ever been there, and so no one can say what it is like. St. Faustina further wrote, I would have died at this very sight of these tortures if the omnipotence of God had not supported me. If the omnipotence of God had not supported me. Number 741. Christ's mercy is the biggest deal that you will get. It's the biggest deal for free. Our sin, our miseries are like a tiny twig that is being thrown into a roaring fire. So what do we do with God's divine mercy? Some time back, a gentleman came to me and said, I've been to confession 25 years ago. And I want to make my confession today. And he started and confessed. And, two things that struck me in his confession. Now, by the way, you're not going to hear about his confession because I myself have forgotten about it. Because God takes care of it. So never think that father, priests will look at you differently. God looks at you lovingly. So the two things that struck me were, he says, I do not want to offend God anymore. And second, I want to go to heaven. I want to go to heaven. I do not want to offend God anymore. And when he received the absolution from God through the minister, he was sobbing, and I was worried and asked him, are you okay? And he said, well, yes, of course. These tears are tears of joy. These tears are tears of the forgiveness I have felt in my heart. And later on, he followed with an email where he said, I went and prayed a chaplet of the Divine Mercy in front of Jesus, and I felt the whole load being lifted up. And I felt so free that I never felt before. The freedom of a child of God. Brothers and sisters, that's divine mercy. That is divine mercy. So what's the difference between divine mercy chaplets and the Sacred Heart of Jesus chaplets? When I was a kid, every Friday we pray this devotion chaplets to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. And I pray it every day till today. Jesus, meek and humble of heart, make my heart like unto yours. And my mother, who started with the regular rosary and then lots of prayers for different needs and different people that have died, and you know where I get it from my long prayer list. And then she went into praying the Sacred Heart of Jesus devotion. And we would plead, Mom, can we just do the Sacred Heart devotion today? Because that was shortest, like 7 minutes. She didn't give in to that. Never did she. But what's the difference between the mercy, divine mercy, and Sacred Heart? There's no difference. There is no difference at all. You heard Paul talking about water. You heard Paul talking about blood. That is it. The blood and water that flowed from the heart of Jesus. Love and mercy that flowed from the heart of Jesus. Sometime back, a person came to me and said, I've really been struggling with how to deal with my sister who I've grown up with. But it's so hard to talk to her even. Even if I say how you, she shuts me down. She doesn't want to do anything doesn't have anything to deal with me. And I go there like a stupid person and say hello again, and I get turned down again. I know 77 times forgiveness. But how do I deal with my sister? And we talked about it. And we said, yes, the best thing would be not to see and not to expect and not to look forward to her positive response, but to look at her with mercy, but to look at her with compassion, but to look at her with love. And that's the love of the divine mercy God gives us. And when we do that, God won't give up on her. Has God given up on any one of you? We have, right? But God has not given up on anyone. If He did, it would have been 40th anniversary that God gave up on me. Right? But God does not give up on us. He loves us so much. He loves us so much that He died for us. That He died for us. And God does not give up on that person either. Because through our divine mercy that we share with them, God will melt their hearts someday, and they will come to recognize God's love and God's mercy. Friends, that is what divine mercy is. We are called to be messengers of mercy. A couple years ago, when Pope Francis introduced the year of divine mercy, he sent messengers and emissaries of mercy in different arch and dioceses. Today, friends, God has you as His messengers of mercy with people you struggle to forgive maybe. People who have offended you and have caused lots of division in your heart, in your family, in your life, in your neighborhood. People that you have maybe offended and you have not felt the heart to go and say, forgive me. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad. This is the day you are going to make the change. You are that messenger of God's mercy. You are that Faustina Kowalska of divine mercy. You are that apostle of mercy today. So go and find those persons. Not just that. Go look at those who are hungry and thirsty and naked. Think about the first reading today. The apostles, the people shed everything they had because they lived in love and mercy, compassion. Let us do that ourselves. Let us be those messengers of God's love and God's mercy, and we will change the world. And people who have not heard of Jesus, people who have distanced themselves from God, will come to God. Because let the house of Israel say, His mercy endures forever. Let those who fear the Lord say, His mercy endures forever. And let all of you who trust in God's divine mercy say, His mercy endures forever. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit.